Welcome everyone to today's webinar, The Dyrt, list your property where the largest community of campers are shopping. Presenting today is John Hayden, president of The Dyrt. So we'll hear from him for a period of time, after which we will have a Q&A portion of the webinar. So you can go ahead and submit your questions anytime, and then we will answer those at the end. And take it away, John.
Great, thanks so much for having me, Gavin. Appreciate the chance to be able to speak with everybody, all of your clients and properties that you work with. I'm here today talking about The Dyrt, the top camping community online and the largest resource for people looking for campgrounds available. I'm John, like Gavin said, John Hayden, president of The Dyrt. We've been around about 8 years building this camper community, and we're doing some really exciting stuff now with bookings to enable our visitors and campers to complete the camper journey and not only find the best places to camp, but book them on The Dyrt as well. And that's what I'll be walking through today. You might be wondering how we got started, why we're here, and what problems we're trying to solve. So just to give you a little bit of background, about 8 years ago, our founders, Sarah Smith and Kevin Long, were looking for places to camp as campers and found a limited amount of information online. And the information they did find was very fragmented and spread across lots of different resources. And so they set out to become the most informative resource for campers. And they wanted to do that through having the most photos and reviews. And so the strategy was to focus 100% on user-generated content to build that online camping community. So what that means is they set up a website, back in the day, that allowed campers to post places that they had camped and then upload photos and reviews for that place to share with other people looking. And the idea was that they would create an environment that was very authentic and very believable, so people could trust. And they do that because it was campers helping other campers. They set that up and they were very smart about how they did that, in the fact that they gamified the reviews. So the more photos you uploaded, the more reviews you posted, the more campgrounds that you added to the system, the more points you would get. And so there were monthly contests in different states, and the people who posted the most won prizes. And that's really what triggered the growth of The Dyrt and built the foundation for who we are today. And so who are we today? Well, it has grown in a big way since the initial talks over the campfire that Kevin and Sarah had. We now, every second, we now have a camper visiting The Dyrt. We're the top ranked camping app in both iOS and Android, and we have over 20 million visits per year. I think that is, this year we'll get up to about 30 million visits. So we've been featured, the featured app in the App Store. We have lots and lots of good ratings. And again, this is all because The Dyrt is a place that campers can trust. It is the place for them to trust because of the amount of information that it has. So to give you a little bit of an idea here, those users have uploaded almost 40,000 campgrounds. So the concept is that any place you can camp in the US should be on The Dyrt. And we rely on our users to populate our database with that. So 40,000 campgrounds. In addition, we have the most user-generated reviews and tips. So over 4 million reviews and tips have been left on The Dyrt from campers. So as you can see, the reason our business is successful today is because of our camping community and how they bought into our concept of campers helping other campers. So a couple other kind of fun stats I want to share, that we do an annual report every year where we survey thousands of our campers in our community. And this is after doing it for 3 years now. This is becoming a trusted resource for the media. It's one of the reasons why we get so much media exposure, is we have a lot of good nuggets in there for them and for campgrounds. This was something that was really interesting. You know, new campers use apps like the Dyrt. There were over 8 million new campers in 2021. And 80% of them used a mobile app like the Dyrt to find something new. So before this explosive growth, there were a lot of people that kind of had their annual camping trips planned where they like to go. And then now, with all the growth that's happened in the past few years, all the new people, they need resources like us to find places like you. So this 80% number is huge. It's also really interesting to think about what we found in our survey, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but how diverse that group of new campers is. And some people may say the challenges that come along with that, but we like to think of it as the opportunities, and we see thousands of places that are seeing that as an opportunity. New people, they're willing to spend money in different ways and looking for different types of innovative accommodations and unique stories to the properties they're staying at. So we're finding that camping types are expanding greatly. I think going back to our origin story with Kevin and Sarah and their tent, what we've seen happen over the past 8 or 9 years is explosive growth in lots of new ways. So, for example, RVs have always been around, but the number of RVs that have been sold, and this is no surprise or real news to anyone, over the past few years is incredible. And all of those people that spent, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 on a vehicle, they need a place to go, and they're having a very hard time finding those places. So what's happening there is that they are being squeezed out into new interesting places to camp. Like it could be anything from BLM land, where they go out and camp for free, or private land, where say a farmer says you can camp on my land. So what these campers are finding is that there isn't enough inventory for them, and they're having to, while they usually stay at more traditional parks, they're having to find other places to go. So what that means for you as a traditional park owner is that the demand is great, and it gives you opportunities to look at price points, look at higher end accommodations. When you have a lot of people that are knocking on your door, that means that there's a business opportunity. So we also have seen this glamping world explode. So the tent down the right-hand side represents that. People are very socially focused on sharing their experiences. They want to be able to tell a story to their friends, whether that's through social media or it's word of mouth. And the better your story is of the experience they had there, or the more photogenic it is, the more likely it is to be shared. So you're seeing more and more properties that are creating unique spaces and telling unique stories and wanting to be shared. And it's become a very, very effective marketing strategy. And then the cabin on the left, some might say that cabins aren't camping, but the truth is, especially with all of the new people that are getting into camping, they're trying to find their gateway to the outdoors. And for a lot of people, that first step might be staying in a cabin in the wilderness to get their feet wet, and then move into maybe a vehicle or something else. A couple other real quick points here. We're seeing a lot longer season. The camping season is extending into the winter, starting earlier in the spring, and obviously going later in the fall. Properties are staying open a little bit longer because of that demand. Again, there's a lot of opportunity for you there business-wise. I think a lot of this probably also has to do with, like we were talking about, the accommodations. Here's a guy in a yurt, right? So there's more and more places that are adding accommodations like this to extend their season because the demand is there. And also because of the huge growth in the vehicle market, in RVs. People can now camp 4 seasons around the year. So there's all kinds of opportunity now for people or for property owners to say, hey, look, I used to only be open these days, but it might make sense for me to do maybe a limited openings through the rest of the year. And that really helps revenue when you look at it on an annual basis. So just to kind of give you the top search camping destinations on the Dyrt, you'll see that most of them are out west. You know, and the most popular here are Denver, the Grand Canyon, Seattle, Moab, and San Diego. That does not mean the camping isn't happening on the East Coast. If you look down into that longer list of the top 25, you can see it starts spreading out further east. So I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. We all know that there are a lot of very, very popular states to camp on the East Coast. So, but in terms of the Dyrt and just in terms of like camping in general, you know, it's just heavier on the West Coast, but there's still tons of opportunity on the East Coast as well. And again, this is all coming from our annual report, the survey that we did with our campers. There's a lot of information in there that you can find on our website. You can download that annual report. We're already working on our annual report for next year. It'll be even bigger and better and packed with more information. So please check that out if you get a chance. So as these years have progressed and we've grown and we've become this resource, what we've been hearing more and more from campers is that, hey, this is a great place for us to come and find information, but we'd like to be able to book sites on the Dyrt as well and complete that camper journey that I was mentioning at the beginning of this presentation. So about a year ago, we set off to make that happen. And it's an extremely large challenge to take on. One of the reasons we were able to do that is that at the beginning of 2020, we launched a premium membership on the Dyrt called Pro. And for $36 a year, campers could get premium features and tools on the app and website to help them find the best camping. And that took off. It was a very, very successful product. We then went from kind of an online advertising, you know, community to a company with a real product and a SKU to sell. And then because of that success, it put us in a position where we could really invest heavily in bookings and completing that camper journey. So the way that we have approached this is because our campers are paying us for Pro, and in other small ways, we're able to not charge properties a commission fee. So it's a unique situation that few others can offer to properties where we can send you bookings and not charge you any commission. You can keep everything, and then we will collect a fee on the camper side. And we feel that properties have tight margins already. We never want to consider properties our clients. We always want to think of everyone as our partners. And so this strategy works out really, really well for us, works out really well for the properties, and it works out well for the campers. So just to give you a little bit of a background here on how we may be different from some of the other OTAs you may be considering or are currently on. Just to summarize this, we're the top ranked camping app, 30 million visits a year. We have commission-free bookings, so we don't charge you anything for bookings we send you. We have 40,000 campground listings, 2,000 of which are now bookable and get priority search placement. And we offer a premium membership for campers. So you're not going to find another platform out there that hits this kind of criteria. It puts us in a very unique position. So just to focus in on that fourth bullet point there, we have 40,000 campground listings, 2,000 of which are bookable. So that's just with our efforts starting in the last year. And you can see that explosive growth there. A lot of that is because of the commission-free bookings, but it's also because of the priority search placement that we give properties on the Dyrt once they are bookable. I'm sorry, I keep pushing the wrong button here. So to give you an idea, kind of a visual of how our bookable inventory is exploding, back in 2019, we had a very small number of properties kind of like a test to gauge interest. And then when we started putting efforts into building that bookable inventory, as of this summer, there were almost 800. At the end of this year, there should be 2,000. So that's 7x growth in inventory in a very, very short time. And to give you an idea of where we see this all going is that we expect to reach 5,000 bookable properties at the end of next year. And again, that is because of the value proposition we can offer to properties with no commissions, but also the enormous amount of exposure that we can give properties that are bookable on the dirt. And the earlier that you're bookable, the more exposure you'll have. By the time we get to 10,000 and above, it'll be a little bit more crowded, and there's more creative ways that you can stand out. But now is still a really good time, especially when you look at a regional map of our bookable properties. If you want to stand out in a certain state or county or area, it's a great opportunity to do so right now. So here's how it works. I mentioned bookable properties get priority placement. So you can see here I've done a search on Portland, Oregon, where we were originally based. And you can see that the top 2 results that show up on the left side have those instant book buttons on them. So bookable properties, like I've said, get to the top of the list of search results. And so what that means for you is for those 30 million visitors that are coming through, and they're looking for campgrounds, whether they're looking to book or not, they're going to see your properties first, the ones that are bookable. We also have a discount program which gets second priority. Now in this graphic, it says up to 40%, which sounds hefty, but what we do is offer 2 levels, 2 tiers. So the standard tier is 10%. If you offer 10% off to our pro users, which is a small segment of our overall population, then you get a higher search placement. This up to 40% represents what we call our weekday discount. So if their first day is a weekday, you would offer them 40% off for that, and then 10% off for each additional day. So the way that would work is someone shows up on a Wednesday, they get 40% off that day, and then 10% off the rest. And the reason we built that is because of the large number of properties that told us that they wanted to have more weekday traffic. And so this is the way that we're doing that and giving you additional exposure. The third priority for our algorithm is reviews. So if you get to a point, in your region where there already are, there are hundreds of other bookable properties, the way you're going to rise to the top is having the most and the best reviews. That's what our platform was based on, and that's something that campers trust. And so it's advantageous for you to be letting your campers know about the dirt, whether or not they booked on the dirt. Asking them to leave reviews is going to help you a lot. So in this case, this top result is instant book. They offer a discount and they have good reviews, so they pop up right there. But what we're talking about today is really being bookable. Being bookable is going to give you the priority spot on the dirt for free, and it's going to get you the most exposure with our visits. Just to give you an example here of a property that's bookable on the dirt, there's no way I'd be able to spend the time and energy to market my property without apps like the Dirt. And this is from Levi down in Joshua Tree. So we're hearing this more and more from properties. It's kind of interesting. There's the largest demand there's ever been for camping, and there really aren't enough campsites out there for the number of campers that are out on the road these days. But we're also starting to find a lot of competition for the most interesting sites, the most interesting properties. And the more that people try to tell a story about why their property is unique and interesting, which is very, very smart, they're finding that the more the distribution helps on multiple platforms. So what we're seeing a lot of is people that want to make a stay at their property unique. They want to tell that unique story. And once they have that story, well baked and it's getting good responses, they want to tell it everywhere that they can. So in Levi's mind, I've got this beautiful property. More people need to hear the story behind it, not just the beauty of it and the convenience, but why I'm doing it and what they can experience here. And the wider I can cast that distribution net, the easier my job will be in terms of operating the campground. And I'll let the Dyrt and others do the work to attract people. So to be on the Dyrt, it's pretty simple, but I want to clarify a few things that we get questions about. So to have a listing on the Dyrt, and I'll just be clear with this, anyone can put you up on the Dyrt for free. So campers, that's how we were built. Campers can stay and add you to the Dyrt, and that happens. There's a really good chance that that if you have a property that's been in business for at least a year, you're already on the Dyrt. You have a listing on the Dyrt, but it is not bookable yet. So going back to what I said about us having 40,000 properties and 2,000 are bookable, we probably have you on there now. The camper has probably reviewed it because that's how big the army is out there. And then what we're talking about is making it bookable and giving you more exposure and giving the camper a better experience on our site. So with that all being said, for the listing to be bookable, it must be in a rural wilderness setting. So it cannot be in a neighborhood. It cannot be a vacation home, stacked against other vacation homes. To fit our brand and what our campers want, it has to be a wilderness setting. And this next bullet is something that I think is very important to mention because we get questions about this. People assume the Dyrt. I think back in the day, we were very tent focused because Kevin and Sarah were more tent focused back then. But that has definitely changed where most of our traffic and most of our users are people that stay in more traditional campgrounds. They have RVs. They want maybe even higher end accommodations. And so that's why the accommodations that are acceptable on the Dyrt include not only campgrounds, but also cabins, glamping experiences, and even private land. Private land is a growing market that a lot of our campers are asking for because it gives them more options. So we're including that. But I just want to be clear that, of course, we include campgrounds, but if you also have cabins or other experiences like that, we'd love to have you on the Dyrt as well. In terms of onboarding, it's pretty straightforward. We've spent months and months and months working on this integration and spent a lot of time and work and effort with ResNexus to make this as easy as possible for you. Again, you're busy, you've got work to do at your property, and we want to take the lion's share of the burden in terms of distribution for you. So the way this works is first you tell ResNexus that you'd like to be bookable on the Dyrt. You can do that through their platform or through the representative that you work with there. ResNexus will then walk you through their setup or send you a short list of instructions of how you enable our channel. Once that's enabled, ResNexus's system will send us your property info. And then we on our end have someone grab that info and create your listing, create an actual listing for it that's bookable in just 24 to 48 hours. So we try to do that in 1 or 2 days. And then once that's done, we let you know. And all that we ask is that you create a login and password that we can link to that account and then confirm that your listing is correct. So again, we want to do the work for you so you don't have to do that. And the wonderful thing about this integration with ResNexus is that we will have, we'll have access to your calendar, to photos, all of your site information. Anything that is relevant for a booking will be getting through the system automatically. So now that we've done all the foundational work, this sync part is actually pretty straightforward. So with that, that's the story about the Dyrt, where we came from, what we're doing now and why we're doing it, and what we're seeing out in the market. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of that, and I'll pass it back over to Gavin now.
Perfect. Thanks so much, John. You did a fantastic job. And yes, at this point, we will be fielding questions. So go ahead and submit those if you haven't already, and either myself or John will try and get those answered for you as soon as we can.
All right, and while we wait for questions, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to get set up with the Dyrt from ResNexus. So the first thing you want to do is log into your back office and navigate to Settings. But before you begin the setup process, you want to make sure all the units you will list on the Dyrt are listed with the correct unit type. And you'll do this by checking each unit. You'll go to the Settings page and search for Units. And from here you will select the unit type. And if you're setting up an RV site, you also will have to enter the correct RV site options. Once all that is done, you can go back to your settings page, navigate to Direct Connect, and from here you will click Add Channel and select the Dyrt. And from here you can get in touch with the Dyrt to let them know you want to connect to them. And then to get started with the Dyrt connection, you can go ahead and click the Connect button in the top left. So then on the registration page, the first thing to do is set up the prior booking time in hours. And this is how long before the guest's arrival they would need to make their reservation through the Dyrt. You can also configure your confirmation emails, and you can adjust your rates. Once you're all done, go ahead and click Save. And then you'll go to the Groups tab and match your group to the Dyrt listings. You can also set up minimum nights for the Dyrt listings as well as blackout dates. Keep in mind that to complete the setup, you must also set up the connection on the Dyrt. The Dyrt will reach out once the channel is set up, or they can be contacted directly to speed the process along. The Dyrt will complete the setup process on their ends to make the units available. All right, and that being said, let's see if we have any questions.
Okay, John, I am seeing a question. We've got someone asking, how is your response for the Dyrt in the Midwest?
Great question. I know we talked a little bit in the presentation about the West being kind of the primary searchable area on the Dyrt, but I'd say the Midwest that area, along with kind of the Southeast, we have seen the most growth in. So while the West has kind of dominated our searches since we started, the Midwest and the Southeast is where we're seeing the most increases, which is great for us because we want to have more diversity across a geographical diversity across the country. So it's to answer that question.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any more questions? I'm not seeing a whole lot at the moment. I think you just did too good a job of explaining how everything worked. So we'll give it another. Oh, here's another question. Let's see. Someone asks, what if I have multiple experiences with our campground? Can we advertise them all?
That's a really good question too. So the primary way to list on the Dyrt is to put your property there and then different experiences within that property, and giving really good detail on each one of those types of sites or accommodations, through the actual listing, and then also through photos that you can share. We have had instances where accommodations are so different that we actually create two different listings for the same company or the same property. That's pretty rare, but I think the best way to handle that is to choose the types of sites that you want to be shared on the Dyrt, and then show that to our onboarding specialists on our team, and let them direct you through the best way to showcase that variety, because that's exactly what we're looking for as well. The more variety, the more unique experiences you can provide, the happier our campers are. So we're happy to help you display that properly.
Fantastic. Wait for questions a little bit more here. In the meantime, I'd just like to say that if you enjoyed this webinar and want to view any of the other ResNexus webinars, you can do so by going to resnexus.com and under the Education tab, clicking on Webinars. And from there, you can view all of our past webinars in our webinar library, as well as register for upcoming ones. Okay, we had someone ask, does ResNexus charge for linking to the Dyrt? And we do not. So it is a free integration for you, and like John said, no commissions. All right, I think that might be all the questions we have for today, John. I'd like to thank you very much for presenting for us. I think it was very valuable to our audience.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me. That was a lot of fun.
All right, fantastic. All right, that will be it for the webinar. Thanks everyone so much for attending, and have a great rest of your day.